Forget your former managers, ignore the ex-pros. As football fans, we all know the real experts drink in pubs. It's funny, it's argumentative, and often it's just plain wrong. Welcome to the Foss Arms Public House and welcome to the Leicester City Pubcast. Hello everyone, welcome to a cool, calm and collected Foss Arms. Don't panic, we didn't beat the 10-man Saints, but we're still in a decent position in the table. The table of which we're going to be discussing quite a bit this evening, along with some on this week historical information, a preview of the Newcastle game, more nonsense with a predictor with Trump Wells IPA, and general good bants and chat with my two good friends. Killer, good evening.
Good evening, Tim.
And Norm, good evening.
Hi, Tim.
So, Killer, starting up with Saints, we played 10 men for 80 minutes, 10 highly motivated men because we'd knocked them out of the cup, I assume.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head, actually, Tim, because, look, football isn't this black and white game, is it? And that's why we watch it. It isn't a game where you can just turn around and go, oh, good, 10 minutes gone, they've got 10 men, we're going to beat them. Because it just isn't as simple as that. And actually, three results that I just want to give evidence that football is very unpredictable, probably never more unpredictable than it's been during this COVID season. Manchester City might have said at half-time against Leeds United at the Etihad, when they went down to 10 men, we should beat them. They lost. Manchester United's only home defeat this season, Sheffield United. Sheffield United, the team with about 4 points, I think. And, of course, let's not forget, Liverpool probably thought they were going to get 3 points at Villa Park, got beaten 7-2. It's been a very unpredictable season. We went down to 10 men. I want to very quickly touch on the decision of the sending off. I thought it was absolutely shocking. Don't give me all this rookie referee nonsense. He wasn't somebody that had just made his first ever refereeing debut. He gets to look at the screen and still decides that a defender taking the ball is a sending off. That was shocking. But notwithstanding that, we then should have been in a very good position to push on and win the football match. We didn't. Made incredibly hard work out of it. And I'm not and never have been really a massive fan of soccer stats. I think we proved, didn't we, during the 15-16 championship winning team, but the possession stats are absolutely useless. So, yes, we had 70% possession, as you would imagine. And yes, we had 23 attempts on goal. The interesting thing is, please go back and have a look at those 23 attempts, because I tell you what, 22 of them are rubbish. Literally, I'd love to know what boots James Maddison had on Friday night. They weren't the right ones, they weren't the right size, and they were left and right were the wrong way round, because some of his shots were squirming all over the place. I'm going to take it, Tim, having gone a goal down. And I must confess that I had a couple of sarsaparillas whilst I was watching it at home. But I remember doing a big hiccup and thinking to myself, I've got a really, really bad feeling about this. This 9-0 is going to spectacularly come back to smack us on the rum. So glad to see the Johnny Evans goal. Glad to see the Iheanacho assist. And quite frankly, on a really, really bad night, glad to see us walk away with a point, lick of wounds, but actually, as Brendan said, maybe it's just a point near our target.
Yeah, I mean, it is a point, and hence the cool, calm, and collected comment at the start. Really, we didn't lose the game. Felt like a game we could easily have lost. We didn't really, Norm, deserve to win it, though, did we? We didn't really do anything like enough, let alone against 10 men, to win the game.
No, I think when any team's down to 10 men so early, you know, your immediate thought is it's going to be a challenge because of the way that the other team will, they set up, etc. But really, you become fairly confident that the result's going to go in your favour. Now, we've missed a couple of decent chances. On another night, we win the game, but it's like Killer's alluded to. This season, more than any other season, is demonstrating what a funny old game football is, to quote Saints and Greavesy, really. And it's I think ultimately it was. We do have to look upon this as a point game. When you go 1-0 down, the Leicester last season probably would have struggled to get, to have the cojones to come back and at least get something out of the game. And look, and Vardy, and indeed he could easily have won it towards the end. It wasn't to be, and I think you're spot on, Tim, and Rogers. It could well be a point nearer to our target. It just makes it, for the neutral, a little more interesting in the top 4 race, given the way the results went this weekend. So it's not the best of results, but hey, we're in a, we haven't lost. We've got a really good opportunity later on in the week, haven't we, to put that right.
Any complaints, Norm, with the team selection?
Not really. I think we've complained, and I've complained on numerous occasions, and found myself with egg on the face. It's easy to be wise after the event. I thought the team was fine, and I accept what Brendan is doing, and so therefore, no, I think I was pretty happy, really.
What about Albrighton Killer? Is not quite flavour of the month again? He seems to have nailed his place down, and now that isn't the case, which I'm a bit surprised by.
Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised by that. But as Norm alluded to there, Brendan watches these guys in training. And what we also have to understand is it's been a really long, intense season. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. We don't know whether or not in practice he might have lost a little bit of sharpness on whatever. The one thing we do know about Mark Albrighton, and I'm a massive Mark Albrighton fan, but make no mistake about it, there's times where Mark Albrighton is very, very good. There's times where he just doesn't play well at all. Maybe if he's just taking a bit of shine off himself in training, I don't know. But might seem a little odd, I've got to say, from where I am, and I am not in the inside camp, he's actually in that 11 for me at the minute.
The thing on that, Norm, for me, I'm not seeing Luke Thomas do enough to keep a normal Mark Albrighton out of the team.
No, I understand what you're saying, but I suppose I would consider Luke Thomas to be more of a defensive wing back rather than, and I don't think Mark Albrighton really is. So I kind of accept that, and I think Luke Thomas has been doing okay. I think the previous game he did have one of his worst games for Leicester, but he's a young player, and I think it's about giving players, using players in the right way at this time of the season, and we have got a lot of games to come. So I suspect it's probably more to do with that rather than anything else.
Fair enough. Right, top 4 then. Let's assume West Ham are playing as we're recording this. We're going to assume West Ham win that game because they are currently winning that game. So Man City out in front, 80 points. Man United will come on to their game in hand in a minute, 67. I think we might be looking below us rather than, as Brendan said before the Saints game, above us now. We've got 60. Leave those two aside. We've got 63, all from 34 games. Chelsea 61, West Ham 58, Tottenham 56, and then Liverpool 54, also with the game in hand. So we were saying last week we weren't too concerned. I'm not still. I'll go back to the stats that we did. We're a point closer to the 66 that I still think we're probably going to need. Does anyone want to disagree with that, though? Think that we might need a bit more?
Yes.
Right. Care to develop that?
No. Yeah. I'd love to. I would love to develop that. Look, in all honesty, I suspect you're probably going to be proved right, and it's just me being a little bit nervous at the moment. And my nervousness stems around Liverpool, because obviously they've got this game against Man U, which we don't know what the score would have been, but let's assume they win that game or had have won that game. I think they're a game. I think they could win the remaining games in their season. In which case, if we only get 66 points, they will finish above us. If we only end up with 66 points, it possibly also means we've lost to Chelsea, given that we'll probably beat Newcastle this weekend. So, if you look at that scenario, my view is we need 68 points, and we'll be. I think that should be enough to see us through. But I think 66 is just a little bit shy. And that they're kind of my thoughts. I'm not massively worried about West Ham. I'm not really worried about Spurs. And you know something, we're looking at these games thinking, as are the press, we've got a tough end to the season. At the end of the day, Spurs, Chelsea and Man U have got a tough end to the season because they're playing us. I don't see us losing every one of those games. So whilst I don't think 66 is going to be enough, I think 68 will be, but I also think we'll get more than that. So I'm not really concerned, but there's just that nervousness of coming into a very winnable game on Friday. And if anything went wrong in that game, then I would be starting to not panic, but starting to think, oh no, please. But I suspect we will have a discussion next Monday about what's gone on this week, and it will be okay.
Yeah, I mean, Killer, to Norm's point, I think if we get to 66, Spurs need to win all of their remaining games to catch us. So you've got to believe that takes one more win for us. You have to believe that takes Spurs out of it. West Ham lingering around, and they're starting to get their injuries back, so you've probably got to keep a bit of an eye there. To Norm's point, just on goal difference, Liverpool currently plus 16, we're plus 22. And in a scenario that Norm paints where Liverpool win all their games, or let's say all but one of their games, and we don't do, you could perhaps see them getting past us on goal difference as well, couldn't you? So there perhaps is a bit of a watch out with Liverpool.
Look, I'm just pause button here because unfortunately all three of us, and the reason why we're a little bit twitchy about it is because of what happened last season. Let's be honest, that's the reason, isn't it? But this time last season we were royally crumbling to bits. We've just taken 7 points from 9, fellas.
Yeah.
Let's just remember that. Taken 7 points from 9. We can talk until we're blue in the face that we should have won against Southampton. Big deal, we didn't, but we didn't lose either. We've taken 7 from 9. There's no suggestion at all that this team has gone anywhere close to what happened last season. We're playing away on Friday to a team that are safe. There's no doubt about it. They are safe. They're going nowhere, and they're probably already looking forward to their trip to Dubai. Okay, so I'm not saying it's a foregone conclusion. All I'm saying is we've got 4 games left, and I'm going to be disappointed if we lose any of them.
And we did get a point against Saints. I mean, that point could be really, really helpful. Just it's slightly frustrating the Man U Liverpool game, Killer, getting called off in those circumstances. Interesting thought to see the reaction to Man U from we know about with their fans and their owners compared to what we think of ours, and a bit of their bit for the grace of God, I suppose. Although I'm sure there's plenty of teams would give their right arm for signing world-class players and being second in the Premier League.
Yeah, that's right. It's slightly odd, isn't it? But especially with Man United, they've never been in love with the Glazers. And when it was initially years ago, where Ferguson was still there, the Glazers have taken over, and a load of Man U fans turned around and said, "We've had enough of it. We're going to set up FC United or whatever," and cleared off. And since then, really, Man United have only had absolutely bucket loads of investment. Really bad recruitment in a lot of ways, but bucket loads of investment. It's difficult. If the Glazers went and somebody else came in, it would be difficult to see what the new owner would do that the previous owners haven't. So I don't really get it. But anyway, we're lucky, aren't we? Because we are owned by a football club where quite frankly, I think if you're on social media and you decided to have a slight pop at the tie owner, I think you'd probably very quickly have a lynch mob of people outside your house, and actually ripping you onto the street and dragging you onto the village green for pelting you endlessly with Thai noodles. I think it would be.
We have been very, very lucky, haven't we? And yeah, I mean, I suppose the only other thing from our perspective, I would have liked to see that game get played. A, it would have been great if Liverpool could have dropped some points. B, likely to be. I think there's been a week scheduled for any catch-up games, and I don't think those two teams would otherwise have been playing in that. Palace have got a game left over. Villa have got a game left over, and that is likely to be much closer, of course, now to the Europa final that Man U will be in. So it probably would have been preferable, but you never know, do you? You never know.
Well, don't forget you got the Euro 2020 coming up. Most of the players that are going to be playing in that are going to be competing. Look, we're waiting for Liverpool to catch fire simply because we know that they have the potential to do that. But again, it's a bit like there's no evidence that we're actually going downhill. There's no evidence that they're going uphill either. So
that's you're spot on there, and I'm making a rash assumption that Liverpool will win all their remaining fixtures. But as we alluded to earlier on in the podcast, it's at the end of the day. This is a very strange season. Liverpool probably won't win all their games. And Tim, what I would actually say is, I'm looking at the league table. What this actually does mean is that Man City can win the Premier League title by beating Chelsea this weekend.
Good point.
Yeah.
So in actual fact, rather than Man City potentially, if Man U had if Man U had lost or drawn, then potentially it would be a dead rubber for Man City. And great, get presented with the trophy, etc., but not the same kind of desire. Whereas to win it in front of your own fans, let's hope that it does work in our favour.
Yeah, albeit cardboard cutouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they'd have filled it anyway. But yeah, no, nicely put, Norm, and further underlines the point that we're not too concerned.
Just quickly, by the way, on that, Tim, sorry to interrupt, because we've actually just touched on something which has slightly irritated me. The Crucible in Sheffield for the final is full.
Saw that, yeah.
Right, now you're going to now need to explain to me then why we can't have at least 40,000 at Wembley for the FA Cup final.
Or why for the FA Cup semi-final in the open air with only 4,000 people, we still have to wear masks.
Seriously, yeah.
But it's a journey, isn't it? It's a journey. But you make a good point. I mean, in terms of risk, and I'm guessing those guys, if it follows the logic of the FA Cup semi-final, would have all had to do the tests. So it's presumably reasonable to ask anyone going to the FA Cup final to do that. I do think that's a very good point, particularly as this is a once in a lifetime, potentially. So yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see whether that's reviewed. Lobby starts here.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, look, it would be nice, but I think it's just trying to come out of it safely. And there've got to be events that are near a capacity and indoors. And I suppose the snooker it's not like people are shouting; they're all wearing masks. It is annoying. I'm absolutely with you, but I suppose we've got to just accept it that it is. That it is what it is, but
what a feeble justification that was.
So it's so nice, Norm.
Yeah, I suppose I'm just trying to be reasonable, but you're right. It is annoying, but hey, we'll see.
Let's move on. We've run a series called On This Week, and Norm's been, as our resident stato, having a look back to this week in history, and I'm intrigued, Norm, to hear what you found for this time.
Well, on this week, Leicester City. No, right. It's actually quite an interesting week. I have to say, there's a numerous facts and figures that I found out. Some good, and some not so good. So, for instance, 6th of May, 1961, we lost our second FA Cup final to Spurs. Funnily enough having to play effectively with 10 men for 70 minutes after an injury to our star player, Len Chalmers.
Is that the last trophy they won, by the way?
Well, unfortunately, actually, it wasn't, but because I do certainly remember them beating us in the latest. Anyway, let's not talk about the negative. One, if not England's or the world's greatest ever keepers, made his debut for Leicester on the 4th of May in 1966. Peter Shilton.
Ooh, I thought you were going to say Mark Wallington.
Well, I love Wallington, but and he kept a clean sheet in a 3-0 win over Everton. And whilst this isn't on the This Week in History, just a very quick question, guys. Shilton or Banks, Leicester's greatest ever keeper out of those two?
Shilton, because I'm related to him.
Killer?
Banks, because Tim isn't related to him.
I think I'd go for Gordon Banks, but yeah, I love your reasoning for that, Killer. Always nice to know there's some genuine reasons for
and genuine love.
For making a choice. On the 2nd of May 1988, Paul Groves became the first Leicester substitute to score on his debut.
Ooh.
I don't really like talking about this gentleman, but on the 5th of May 2001, Peter Failure Taylor ended a club record run of 9 successive defeats with a 4-2 win over Spurs. I mean, I'm not really sure how a manager ends. It's like a good thing. Oh, he ended a club record losing streak.
9. Honestly,
awful.
In a run like that run would be bad enough, wouldn't it? With a couple of draws in there, 7 defeats, 9 straight defeats. Talk about losing the dressing room.
But it was the last game of the season, if I remember. I mean, I was already, I've got to be honest, I'm not just saying this as an after-timer. I was already in the Taylor out camp. I just thought he had lost everything. We then win the last game of the season. Do you remember what the score was on the opening game of the following season?
I do. No great surprise, Killer.
Yeah,
I was thoroughly enjoying a cricket match.
We were at the Ashes, weren't we? We were actually at the Ashes.
Oh, I know then.
And we lost to newly promoted Bolton Wanderers at home, 5-0.
Yeah, I remember some Northerner next to me, because I was trying to find out the score. This was 4 mobile phones, and some Northerner next to me just turned around to his mate and went, "Hey, mate, yeah, Leicester City just been beaten by Bolton 5-0. And I looked at him and went, "Please tell me you're joking." And he went, "You're not Leicester." Yeah, they both started laughing.
Oh God, that was a shocking day, was it? Because you just knew, it's the first day of the season's full of hope and joy, isn't it? And then that happens.
Well, he should have been sacked that day, shouldn't he?
Yeah. No, he should have been sacked well before then. But
no, you're right. But if the board have turned around and said, "Okay, look, let's see how it gets in," because don't forget it was on the back of Martin O'Neill, and I suppose the nice thing about the club was that they were out the habit of sacking a manager. So, all right, you've given him a chance, but that should have been his chance, and it should have been out and got somebody in. As always horrific, horrible season. Sorry, Norm, carry on.
No, but it was a great night out afterwards, though. I do remember drinking a couple of jugs of strawberry daiquiri down in one towards the end of the night. Anyway.
What, because of the result?
Just because I could. So swiftly moving on from that. On the first, this is another sad thing, I'm afraid. The 1st of May 2004 saw us relegated from the Premier League after a 2-2 draw with Charlton. It took us, as we all know, 10 years to get back. A feat made even more remarkable given, as Gary Lineker described at the time, the worst day in our history, which occurred on the 4th of May 2008 after a draw at Stoke, saw us relegated to the 3rd tier of football for the very first time. But do you know something? Without our history, without all these things that have happened to our great club, without I kind of believe in fate. If something else had happened, if we hadn't had Peter Taylor, if we hadn't got relegated in 2004, if Stoke had have allowed us to score and we hadn't got relegated in 2008, what happened on the 2nd of May 2016 at 9:56 to be precise, that is the moment that 5,000 to 1 outsiders Leicester City gave everyone in sport hope, to give everyone the right to dream, to know that the impossible is possible. A day better than the day Pleat was sacked, better than beating Man U from 3-1 down, better than everying.
This is Churchillian, Nom.
It is. I'm standing up and saluting.
And I have literally gone.
Off a puppet, yeah.
Well, and with you saying that, I have actually gone cold myself, which is It was 5 years ago yesterday we became Premier League champions. Now, I mean, what a week in history.
Send her Victor.
And to round off that week, we were presented the trophy at King Power, which was what an end to the week. So all in all, okay, there was some bad stuff there, but like I say, without that, we wouldn't have had that greatest moment in sporting history. So
no, I got to say, I totally agree with that, and I became very public about this at the time on social media, and I basically said for anybody that lived in Leicester that at school decided for reasons only known to yourself to go and support another team that you had no association with at all, beyond maybe your dad was a glory boy and he supported them, you will never, ever, ever know just what it feels right here, right now to be a Leicester City fan. And to some extent, whatever happened in 2015, 2016, I get that same feeling now, folks. I look at us, third in the league, FA Cup final, and I think to myself, this is little Leicester City here. This is a team with no God-given right to achieve anything, but it's our team. Us three, born and bred in Leicester, we turned our back on Liverpool and Man U and everybody else. The other glory boys in the playground decided to support. We supported our local team, our local side, and when it happened, oh my goodness, it felt really good.
Yeah,
felt better than good.
Yeah, I mean,
you sat down yet, Tim?
I was just tears.
No, Killer, what you've said there, it is for people that support teams like us, that don't always have success. It is all the sweeter, isn't it? It is all the sweeter to believe that it would never have happened. And I remember when O'Neill left, in my heart of hearts, I believed I'd seen the best I would probably ever see of Leicester. I know things are cyclical, but we'd had a great time under him. 4 top 10 finishes, couple of League Cups. Kind of felt that maybe there's always a chance for the FA Cup, but really felt that was the best I would ever see. And
well, do you remember that day?
Like to be wrong.
The 5-2 Sunderland. I know that's a well talked about football match, isn't it? Because it was Collymore and Heskey. It was Heskey's last game, but it wasn't just the Collymore Heskey. It was Edie, it was Izzet, it was Lennon. We had Savage down the flanks. It was just a brilliant Leicester team. We got one flash of it, and I just remember, and I dined out on this for Yonks afterwards, saying if we'd held on to that team, maybe we could have competed for the Champions League. And even saying that was a massive long shot, because actually, who was ever going to get in the Champions League beyond the big clubs? And we talked about really big four back then, wasn't it? It was the same 4 teams getting involved all the while. And to think that, like you say, Norm, that actually we're better than that. The team we've got now is better than that team, without loads of investment, by the way. We haven't been bankrolled like a Man City or a Chelsea. And incredible.
Yeah,
Robbie Savage in the Champions League. That's the thought, isn't it? he'd have torn it up, wouldn't he?
Oh God!
Nice one, Norm. And actually, what a great week we picked to do that. Then, so fantastic. That's another well delivered sermon, Norm. Congratulations. Now, Norm, I've got a little surprise for you because before we come on to preview the Newcastle game, I've had an email in, Norm, and of course, listeners, if you do want to send an email, it's leicestercitypubcast@gmail.com. And I haven't told you about it, Norm, because it's from your brother-in-law, George. And fair play to George, because we've given George a fair bit of stick throughout the season by way of slagging off Arsenal off, quite rightly. And he acknowledges that, and he sent a lovely note in with various ideas, actually. But he's made a very, very good point. So he said, I was just wondering what you guys would be singing when Iheanacho scores in the cup final. So I like the when, George, first of all. Does he have a Leicester City song? I'd imagine, given his form when the fans are in the stadium, he doesn't. And of course, George, you are spot on. I can't think of one. So he said, now things have changed. Perhaps you guys can develop one for the terraces when they return. Words and to the tune of from the three of you, and then pick the best. So, on behalf of George, I'm throwing down that gauntlet to you two. Can we do that for next week? Come up with a Kelechi song.
I think I've already come up with one. Kelechi.
Hold on, Keller. If you have, I'm going to ask you to hold it for next week.
Okay. But hold on. I think there is one because whilst it's not his song, it's the Cambiasso one, isn't it? It's like, oh, he's magic, you know. Kelechi Iheanacho.
But come on, he's worth a bit more. Surely he's worth his own song. So I think we're looking for a new Kelechi song to reflect the country's top four.
All right, what about this one, Tim? Keller thinks Iheanacho is magic, you know. I've got my own song about Iheanacho.
Okay, so basically, what we're going to do then is, and Tim, you're not going to get away with this. We are all going to come up with our Iheanacho song. We are all going to sing our own songs and then vote for whose is the best.
Must be sung.
No,
it must be sung. It cannot be spoken. It must be sung. Got to be sung.
George must listen in, and George must vote.
Yeah,
and George can email in and tell us whose was the best song.
Well, we've maybe got a chance. We'll see if we could even get George on the show to judge. But let's see if that's doable between now and next week.
Let's see if we can get Iheanacho on the show and see if he wants to judge.
Right.
Can you imagine his little confused face? He looks confused enough after he scored that trick.
Right, let's get back on our game with.
No, I can't. We can't.
Chat about Newcastle. You've already said they might be on the beach, but actually their form's been pretty good. I haven't got the stat in front of me, but I think something like only lost 1 or 2 out of their last 10. Pretty sure they had 8 out of 9 unbeaten. So Bruce, about a couple of months ago, said something crazy in the media. Words to the effect of, I've had enough of this, I'm going to do it my own way, didn't he? And I which kind of begs the question, if he was the manager, why wasn't he doing that anyway? But he sort of flipped it around. And actually, whatever it is he's done, and I haven't watched them enough to be able to comment on that, it definitely has worked. It's got them out of trouble. They look like they were sinking into the bottom 3. And now they've suddenly got their injuries back in terms of Wilson and St. Maximum, and they look a decent side.
Yeah, look, there's no doubt. In the Premier League this year, best one in the world, there's been 3 poor sides. You know what I mean? I think there's been 3 sides. And let's be honest, the 3 down at the bottom, they're pretty... Fulham had a bit of a run, but that aside, they've been pretty much doomed, I think, from about game 5 onwards. They've never got it together. Were Newcastle ever going to drop into that bottom 3? Well, maybe if Fulham have kept that run going. But actually, I've watched Newcastle a few times and always thought they had enough quality to get out of it. And so it seems. Now, should we be worried about them? Of course, because I already said at the beginning of the show, cited 3 results where you'd have been absolutely certain of the outcome, and it didn't happen. So, yes, we need to be on our guard, but let's not forget it's a very, very good hunting ground for us there. They are a team generally that will let you play a bit of football, and I just think after Southampton, I think Rodgers would have got into his players a little bit. I'm feeling really confident, Tim, about Friday.
Brilliant. Yeah, I quite fancy Vardy. Vardy likes scoring against them, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Them and West Brom. So let's see what we think in terms of the predictor. Oh, sorry, Norm, go on.
So I must come in here, Tim. Now, I don't particularly want to embarrass your knowledge on Newcastle, but you're suggesting that they've done pretty well in their last 11.
Unfortunately, there was a but.
Now, out there, given that they've had this impressive run, Tim, I was wondering whether you would have considered 2 wins out of the last 11 league games to be particularly impressive. Because to me, that's not.
They've had draws in there, haven't they? So
yeah, they've had some draws, and they beat West Ham, and they've drawn with Liverpool. They've lost to Arsenal, but I'm sorry to challenge you, but I think they've done all right. But I think we need to. If we don't win this game, anyway, on to the predictor. Sorry,
I just love the noise Tim made. He went, okay. That was the equivalent. That was the equivalent when his dad turned around and went, "You're not going out on Friday. End of story. Your grandma's coming round." Okay.
And one other point of order, just to be like the really annoying little boy today. We're actually at home, so it's not at Newcastle.
Oh, God. I absolutely forget who we've played and who we haven't, you know. I could have sworn that. Didn't we beat them like 8-0 earlier in the season or something?
Right, no, hold on a minute. I'm just having a quick look at this. Let's just as we've got the time. So they lost to Arsenal, didn't they?
Oh God, he's still going on about it.
Right, they drew with Liverpool.
Yeah.
Beat West Ham.
Yeah.
Beat Burnley.
Yeah.
Drew with Spurs. Lost to Brighton. Drew with Villa.
Yeah.
Drew with West Brom. Drew with Wolves. Prior to that, then they had Man U, Chelsea.
Lost to Man U, lost to Chelsea.
That's not a bad little run, is it?
No, but they've only won twice out of 11, and you know, great result against Liverpool. You know, great. You know, a draw against Spurs, who at the time, for like 3 or 4 weeks ago, were in free fall. I think you're just over egging how much Bruce has made a difference by doing it his own way. That's all right.
You're right. They're rubbish. We better win.
Yeah, we will.
Go on then. What are you predicting for this one with Trumpwell's IPA?
Well, given that they've had such a really great run of form in the last 11 league games, Tim, I'm going to go for Leicester. Obviously, listeners, you'll know that I'll be going for a Leicester victory. I'm going to go 3-1.
3-1. And I should have just said we didn't score any points last week. We all predicted wins against the Saints, leaving Killer on 14, me on 24, and Norm on 27. Killer, to improve that 14, then what's your prediction for this week?
Well, given our impressive record at St James's Park, which obviously now has absolutely no relevance. Having said that, we've actually got just as good a record against Newcastle of recent times at the King Power. I'm going to go for 3-1 Leicester. 3-1
as well. And I'm going for 2-0 Leicester. So we all think 2-goal victories. For the famous Foxes, as I said, if you want to get in touch with us, it's Leicester City Pubcast @gmail.com. Hopefully, if my stats are right, when you next hear from us, we will statistically be in the Champions League. See you next week. Thanks for listening, everyone. If you enjoyed the Leicester City Pubcast, please subscribe and tell everyone about it. If you hated the Leicester City Pubcast, please keep it to yourselves. See you next week.